Now today we're going to be looking at some weapon and armor mods for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Links to the mods can be found in the description below, and please support the original creators. Now the first mod we'll be looking at is Blazing Sword by KayScott. Now the first thing you'll notice with this Master Sword replacer is that the weapon has now got a fiery aesthetic, with its red and gold colour scheme. The sword changes even further when fused to something, becoming much brighter and gaining some hints of purple. The mod isn't purely aesthetic however, and the sword now has a small fiery effect, which sometimes didn't work when trying to hit objects. What did work consistently however is its new fireball effect, which replaces the Master Sword beams, and doesn't require you to have full hearts, which is great not only for attacking but also very useful for movement. Now despite the weapon having a fiery effect, you can still apply other elemental fuses and get their effects. In fact, you'll often find that both effects are sort of applied simultaneously, which is why this ice keeps on melting when I try and make more. Another feature I found, which I assume is accidental but very cool nonetheless, is that the fireball will apply the effects of whatever is fused to the weapon. For example, if I hit enemies with the fireball with the Ice Dragon Horn, the enemies will end up freezing. And the same goes for the fuses that apply the electrical element. Now just like the normal Master Sword, the weapon still glows when in close proximity to gloom based enemies, when both fused and not fused. The weapon also happens to provide a small warmth boost, making it great for the slightly colder areas. Although go anywhere too cold, you'll still need an item of clothing or some sort of food. Now the mod actually goes one step further and changes some of the error related Master Swords, giving them the same appearance and effects. Although it is important to note that with these broken or glitched Master Swords you won't be able to fuse anything to them. They do however still make great gifts. But the mod doesn't end there, and in fact it goes even further beyond and gives us a replacement for the broken Master Sword. This still doesn't change the fact though that the broken Master Sword isn't very good. Now our next mod is another replacement Master Sword mod, and is The Blades of Heaven and Abyss by Sandman432. Now the first part of this mod alters the Master Sword to make it look more heavenly or light based, adding much more gold and putting a small silent princess on the blade along with this big light dragon. Now the fused appearance of the weapon remains basically identical. What doesn't remain identical is the Hylian shield, which now sports a golden purple look, with a slightly strange effect on the metal, which reminds me of Damascus steel. And while the two shields don't look that similar, this shield does remind me of the Goddess shield from Skyward Sword, but that's mainly thanks, I think, to the colours. Now the mod doesn't alter the appearance of any bows, however the royal bow seems to work strangely well with the set. Whether that is intended or it's just an accident, I'm unsure. The weapons also come with their own names and a description, which gives you a small bit of lore. Now if the title of the mod didn't give this away, this mod comes in two parts, and the second part replaces the Master Sword with a evil Master Sword, changing the scheme to a red and silver one, and giving us an evil looking dragon along the blade, as well as an upside down Triforce symbol, rather like the one found on Demisa's sword from Skyward Sword. Now while the mod doesn't change the colour of the text when the weapon has something fused to it, the green really does pop with the red background. Now just like the first part of the mod, this mod also includes an evil version of the shield, with what I think is a red coloured Gleok in the centre. And with this darker set, I'd also recommend the Royal Guard bow, as just like the other set with the Royal bow, it keeps to the same colour scheme. Now from what I could work out, the glowing effect from when the weapons are near something gloom related remains unchanged, although the Abyss blade doesn't glow up, which therefore gives the surrounding glow effect more of a foggy, misty look, although I may be completely wrong on this. And from one dark version to another, we have Dark Fierce Deity Armor by Heydu 6. Now this armor set replaces the Fierce Deity set, and combines two of the most unnerving and scary sets in the game, those being the Dark Link set and the Fierce Deity set. Now since this armor set simply replaces the Fierce Deity set, it's still upgradable, and still has the attack boost, which is why it's one of the best sets in the game. And since the armor set doesn't have any strange proportions, it still works quite well when mixing and matching armors. The only slight issue is when it comes to the helmet, as it changes Link's skin to a much darker tone, which can look odd on any armor set that shows Link's neck, as the neck remains his normal skin tone. Armors like the Gloom set, the Rubber set, and the Zora set, however, do nicely cover up the neck, retaining the Dark Link illusion. The Phantom Ganon headpiece also works incredibly well, thanks to the colour change to Link's lower half of his face. The next mod we'll be looking at is Mask Revival by Chesterfeng, which introduces several standalone items into Beedle's shop in the Woodland stable. Now the masks themselves are incredibly expensive, and cost 5,555 rupees each, with the one exception costing 55,555 rupees. Now the mod is a work in progress, and many of the masks currently don't have effects. The first mask we'll look at, and also probably the most famous mask, is the Bunny Hood, which is really more of a hood than it is a mask. And just like in Majora's Mask and its various other game appearances, the hood gives you a big speed boost, making horses even less useful than they already are. The next mask, the All Night mask, has the same effect, although with this mask it only works at night, making it more or less a worse version of the Bunny Hood. Although since the mod is still being worked on, I imagine additional effects will be added over time. The next mask, the Mask of Truth, which is also the most expensive mask by far, provides a disguise from all enemies that you can be disguised from, which is the same effect as the Majora's Mask that can be found in the vanilla game. Although to be fair to the mask, the Majora's Mask is actually quite difficult to get. A much cheaper option, however, is a Gibdo mask, which provides all of the same effects, but for 50,000 rupees less. And just like the All Night mask, there's even a weaker variant, which is a Captain's Hat, which only works as a disguise on the Stal/skeleton enemies. The other masks, like the Keaton mask, provide absolutely no effect just yet. Nor does the Romani mask, the Don Giro mask, and the Giant's mask, or at least when I was originally recording this, as now the Giant's mask works as an overall disguise, just like the Gibdo mask. And last but not least, the Garo mask. And that's going to be all the mods we'll be looking at today. But my question to you guys is, which masks from Majora's Mask would you most like in Tears of the Kingdom? Thank you for watching.